Look at the structure. Now we are trying to understand authentication procedure. We are trying to understand authentication procedure. OAuth. OAuth. We are trying to use OAuth for authentication. For authorization process, we are using OAuth. OAuth stands for Open Authorization. OAuth stands for Open Authorization. It is a protocol that provides a secure API authorization from application. Now, basically, what we are doing as of now, if you look at this, he is a client, he is a server. My resource is available on the server. It may be a database or it may be a file, whatever it is. Let us assume I want to get access to this data. It is on the server. It is a client. As of now, what I'm doing, I'm straight away making a request to the server. If it is open for everyone, server is sending the data. I am straight away making a request to the server. Server is sending the data. If it is API based, if you are using a key, I am making a request with a key directly to the server. So server is giving the key. Client is taking that key and producing that key for authorization and requesting for the data. So server itself has given you key, and the key is produced by the client, and server verified it. Server is giving. So your interaction is directly with whom? So everybody is requesting the server only. Everybody is trying to communicate with the server straight away. But here, when I say OAuth, Open Authorization, the process will be like this. This is a client, this is a server. We'll have authorization server. Request will go to OAuth. Now, the client will interact with the authorization server. Authorization server will give you a key. That key I am going to send it to the server. So initially, client will communicate with whom? Authorization server. Authorization server will give you a key. Whatever the key I have given, with that key, you are going to interact with the server. That is the initial step what we are doing. If I don't use that authorization server, then client will be sending a request to the server. This is my username, password, give me the data. This is my key, give me the data. It is open, give me the data. When you have that authorization, client will communicate with the authorization server. Authorization server will produce one key, give back to the client. Client will produce that key to the server and interact. So client cannot interact with the server straight away. So first the primary steps are what? Communicating with the authorization server, getting your authorization process data, then sending it to the client. Have you followed this? So this is the initial step what we are going to add. Your previous examples are what? Client sending the request to the server straight away. I have username, password of mine. I want to send that username, password to the server and say, get me my data. But now it is not this. We are supposed to communicate with the open authorization. That's what? Open authorization. So what is open authorization? It is a protocol that provides secure API authorization from application in a simple and standard way. Now, when you are going with a authorization, I can communicate with the server with my username, password. I can communicate with my server without revealing my username, password. So authorization server has different procedures. The OAuth has different procedure. One procedure says, give me the username, password given to you. I will verify it and grant you access. Second procedure says, I don't need your username, password. We have alternate way of logging it. We have alternate way of logging it. So there are different procedures available for different operations. Right. Now let us see what we are going to do here. So user client application. Through client application, what is happening? User is requesting the access. When user is communicating with the authorization server, then authorization server is sending you what? Some token, key, access token. Then with that access token, I am making a request to the server, requesting for data. Are you getting my point here? So client requesting an access token is sent by the authorization server. Authorization server is going to send a access token. Then the client is going to request for a data. So it is not a straight away. So what are the things that are involved in this one? Tell me. What are the things that are involved in this? Now, authorization server, access token, request to the server. I hope this is clear. Previously, user client application straight away requesting the data. User has username, password, request the data. User has a key, request the data. User has an open URL, request the data. When you introduced authorization server, user making a request to authorization server is going to produce your tokens. With the help of the token, request to the resource and get the data. Right. Now, when you are making this interaction, issue the tokens. Different type of tokens will be coming. What is that? Authorization code, access token, refresh token, ID token. Now, different types of tokens are available. Now, how we can authorize? OAuth token. So we have authorization code. So what happened? Boss, when you make a request to me, first I'll give you some temporary code. Use the temporary code, request back for access token. Okay, I'll produce you short code. With the help of that code, again you make a request to me, I'll provide security. So what is this? Two-step. First one is, you request me, I will give you access token. You give me the credentials, what I have given you, I will give you access token. How many steps? One step. Second one is what? Okay, you request me with the credentials what you have, I will send you code. You send me that code back along with your credentials, I will give you access token. So how many steps of authentication? Two steps. So what is this authorization code? Short-lived code. It's temporary code which is used for you to authenticate and get your access token. Short-lived token. So using this token, we can request for your access token. Okay. Then we have refresh token. Now we get into the topics very clearly. Just I am giving a quick idea about the terminology what we have. First, access code means what? Your authorization code means I am sending you one code on the browser in the URL. If you copy that code, send back that code to me, I will give you access token. What is that access token? Access token is like a session ID. If you have that, if you get that access token, it is like a session ID. I can authorize you. Yes, you are a valid user. Tell me what you need. Right. This access token allows you to access or request the data from the server. If you want to access any data from the server, you require an authorization. That authorization is nothing but an access token. The key what I am giving you. Then refresh token. What is this? Pause. Step number 1, request a code. I send you a code. Now request for the access token. Then I request, okay, I have sent the access token to you. Then you request for the data. Then I am sending a data to you. Again, if you want to request a data, one token will be used for only one transaction. One token will be used for how many transactions? One transaction. Again, if you want to request the resource, again request the code. Again, I will send you code. Request the access token. Again, I will send you access token. Request the data. Now, boss, second time when you are calling, instead of following all the procedure, what will happen? I will give a refresh token to you. What do you need? Request a code. I will give you a code. Request the access token. I will give you access token, refresh token. Now, what is the refresh token? Next time when you want to get access to me, Just simply send a refresh token, I will send you access token. What is that? Bypassing some process. Second time when you are calling, we are bypassing some process. So like this, IDs are available. Again, it's a ID, signed ID. It's a, okay, what do we say? Signed data, digitally signed signature. Then when you're going for authentication, there are different types of authentications what we have. So what is that? User agent, JWT barrier token flow. Generally for Java applications we'll be using it. Then device authentication flow, asset token flow, SAML variant assertion flow, username password. Now generally this how in this process what we are going to generally use. What we are going to use? Web user agent, web server, username password. These are the formats what we are generally going to use in the Salesforce. Generally what we are going to use? Username, password, user agent, web server. These are used for single sign-on concepts. These two are generally used for what? Single sign-on. These two are generally used for what? Single sign-on. Single sign-on concept or authorization and authentication. Authorization and authentication process. There I'll be using these two. But programmatically, generally we go with what? We go web server, user agent, username, password, client credential. One more will be there, client credential. So to understand that, we'll go for this. What are the flows we are using? OAuth flows includes web server flow, user agent flow, username, password. These are what we are going to use in the Salesforce. What we are using? Web server flow, web server integration you are using. Intelligent JNTU answer. Who is that guy? Right. Web server flow, user agent flow, username, password flow. These are the three flows we are using. Now let us start with the first. What is this flow? What are the things we require in this? Listen carefully. Now you understood OAuth is nothing but open authorization. It has different mechanisms, different procedures. Out of that, we are going to use web server, user grant access, user grant flow, username, password. Okay. Now we are going to start with the connected app. What is this connected app and why we are going to use it? Look at this system, everyone. We have a client. We have a. Now where is my resource available? Now your resource may be a file or a data, whatever it is. Okay. Some resources are available here. Now the point is, whoever is providing the service, whoever is providing the service on that service provider, we are supposed to create one application which is called connected app. Whoever is providing the service on the service provider, we are supposed to create one application which is called connected app. So once you create a connected app, we are going to get client ID, somebody may say application ID, application secret, somebody may say app ID and secret. So terminology may be different, but whatever you are giving, one ID will be coming, one password will be, one secret will be coming. Okay, one ID, one secret. So people may use a different terminology. Now if you go to Facebook, they say app ID, app secret. If you go to LinkedIn, they say ID and password. So different people may use different terminology, but end of the game, what is that? One ID, one secret. So when you create an application, you're going to get client ID, client secret, and callback URL. Callback URL means if I have to send any response, if the server want to send any response, to which page I have to send? Boss, you are asking me to give a reply. Okay, fine. To which email ID I have to give a reply? You are asking me to make a call. You are asking me to make a call. To which phone number I have to make a call? Now the phone number what you are giving? Whose phone number? I am a server. You are a client. You told Satish, give me a call at 9 o'clock. Okay, give me a call at 9 o'clock. Okay, and you are giving the mobile number. Whose mobile number you are giving? My number or your number? You are a client. I am a server. You are making a request. Satish, give me a call at 9 o'clock. This is the number. Now whose number is that? Mine or your? Your number. So who is that? Client. If client says this is the number to which I have to make a call, I'll give it. Okay. What is the number called? Callback URL. You told Satish, okay, send your requirement on this mail. This is my mail ID. Now what is that mail ID you have given? Callback URL to which I am going to send my email. Similarly, when you're requesting to the server that I want the following resource, I want a following code, to which page the server has to send? To which page the server has to send the reply? That page is what? Callback URL. So this is a page of what? Client page. Callback URL page. The page which you have created in the client side. The callback URL will be the URL of the client side page. The page in the client application to which I was supposed to send the code. It is a page in the client side application to which I am going to send the code. Are you clear? Client ID, client secret, and callback URL. So the connected app. Who is going to create a connected app? On the server, we are going to create a connected app. From Salesforce, I am integrating with Amazon. I want to get all the list of products which are in Amazon with iPhone. Now I have a requirement, fetch all the products of iPhones which are listed in Amazon. Now who is provider? Data is available with Amazon. Who is the client? Salesforce. Where will you create a connected app? Where will you create a connected app? Connected app is created on Salesforce or Amazon? Amazon. Okay. Now I have Jet Airways. I want to make a request to the Jet Airways and see what are the schedules, flight schedules, what are the flight schedules which are delayed, and I want to display in my site. Now who is the provider now? Jet Airways is the provider. Then I was supposed to make a request to them, get their data. Where will I create a connected app? Jet Airways. Are you getting my point here? Service provider. On the service provider, we are going to create a connected app. Are you clear about this? So, what is the primary step we need to follow? Creation of connected app. I'll give the notes. Listen. People started drafting. Now, look at the format. So, your server is going to have connected app. Once I created a connected app, what I'm going to give? Right. Then, what is the process of your authentication? Now, they told there are different types of authentications we have seen. There are different types of authentication. What is the process of authentication? What is the process of authentication? Web server, user agent, username, password. Now, I'll go for username, password first. I'll make it simple. Username, password. When I'm going for a username, password, I'm going for a username, password authentication. So look at the structure. Everyone understand this clearly? Everyone understand the process clearly? Client, server, first let me give basic data. If anyone is finding difficult, let me know. I can help you out. Understand the structure clearly. Now, what can you request from the server? From the server, I may request a record, I may request a file, I may request a functionality. That means if I give my internal marks and external marks, tell me I am pass or fail. You may expect a service, you may expect a data. You may be requesting from the server, you may request a data from the server, you may request a service from the server. It is up to the requirement. You may request the data, you may request the service. Okay, this is what we have created. Now, on the server side, first step. On the server side, first step, what I was supposed to do? Create a connected app. Create a connected app. Once you create a connected app, client ID, as I told you, people may have different naming, but concept is the same. Connected app. Then, once I created this, username, password, right? So create. When you will have username, password, when you create a new user, you will get username, password. Your password. The Salesforce, in case if you Salesforce is a provider, how will I get username, password? Only when I create a user. Okay, create a new user, password. Integration user. Now you have a resource. Now your resource may be a data, or it may be a service, or it may be a files also. Depends upon your context. Or maybe some service. Now look at this. Now what will happen? Client. Now once these are created from server will give you client ID and secret. So your server is going to provide the following information. So first what we are doing? Create step number 1, create a connected app. Step number 2, create a username, password. Then give this data to client. Step number 3. Right? Then what happened? Client is going to make a request. Look at this. Now client will make a request to server, because I know the endpoint of the server, authorization server endpoint. Client making a request. How client is making a request? Client ID, client secret. Client ID, client secret. We are passing client ID, client secret, username, password. If you pass this data, then authorization server is going to verify with Salesforce. It is going to verify with the Salesforce, grant access token. If everything is okay, send access token. So client is going to make a request to the authorization server with the client ID, client secret, username, password. By passing these 4 parameters, client is making a request to authorization server. Authorization server is going to verify. If everything is okay, the authorization server is going to send back the access token. Once the server receive the request, server is going to send back the access token. Then what happened? Client again make a request. Now client make a request. Boss, this is my access token. Give me the resource. Client request. Request the resource. By passing access token. Then server will send it. This is the process of username password authentication. People have followed this structure. So what is happening? First, the client is going to send username password, client ID, client secret, username password, client ID, client secret. If you pass this data to the authorization server is going to pass access token. Once you get the access token, pass this access token, request for the data. So how many steps are involved? 1 step of authentication, 2 steps for requesting the data. How many steps of authentication? 1 step of authentication. Is it clear for everyone? People have followed this? Okay. Now, what is the flow we had? Let us come back. Look at this. Request access token using username, password. Verifies the user credential, send access token. Then access the protected resource. Are you clear about this? Did you follow this? Okay. Now, let us quickly first understand the theoretical part of the story. Now, either you are going to be a provider or a consumer, any one. At a time, you will not be both. But as we are practicing, we are creating both of them. Practically, what is it? Either you are going to be a provider or consumer. As we are want to demonstrate an example, both the systems we are creating from our own end. As we are trying to demonstrate an example, both the systems I am creating from my side only. But generally, what will be that? Either you are a client side or server side. To demonstrate this example, we are going for it. In open authorization, first we have OAuth username password authorization. First, server side. We are going to the server side. On the server side, what you are supposed to do? Server side, log into, let us say, Right now I'm giving some username password. Service provider. Then service provider. Create a connected app. Server side, log into admin@312.com. Create a connected app. What are the steps to create a connected app? Now I'm going for okay. If you go back to this, setup, build, create apps, connected app. Setup, build, create apps. We can have connected app. This is a connected app. So I'm giving here. Step number 1, what we got here. Enter the app name, contact email ID, logo and icons for your application if you want. Then enable OAuth. First, let me complete this. SFDC integration. Then logo, image URL. I'm choosing any one. Logo, icon, URL. You can keep your own, but I want to take the samples. I don't want to upload static resource and all the stuff. Upload. So in case if you want to keep, so logo, image, icon, URL, description. Right. This is the basic data what we have done. So create. So we are giving choose image logo image URL. You can simply say choose from existing samples. There is an optional box, not mandatory. Then we have next icon URL description. Then next one, step number 6. Step number enable OAuth. Enable the checkbox. If you look at this, we got enable OAuth settings. Enable OAuth settings. When you enable this OAuth settings, then it asks you to callback URL. What is this callback URL? Already I told you this callback URL is the name of the client side so here I'm giving your server, it's your choice. I guess we have right now AP4 is going on, right? Then next, go back to the page. Right now, give a dummy. We don't use this in this example. We don't use anything in this response in this page right now. Now select OAuth scopes. What do you want to give? What type of access you want to give? What type of access you want to give? Access and manage your data. What type of? Right now, I'm selecting full access. Select full access. Once you selected a full access, then simply save it. Don't touch any other things. Simply Save it. So this all we are doing on what? Server side. Server side. If you look at this, what are you finding here? Consumer key, consumer secret. I told different people will use different terminology. I told client ID, client secret. These people are using consumer secret, consumer key. Okay. Continue. You will find consumer key and consumer secret. Right. So this is first what we have done. Created a connected app. We created what? Connected app. So once the connected app is created, we got consumer key, consumer secret. Now what is the second step we are supposed to follow? Create a new profile, integration user, grant access on account, contact, with read grant access on account, contact, opportunity with read, edit, create access permission to specify this. Create a new user. So we got username. So this is what we have done on server side. So on the server side, what did it create? Connected app, and I have created a new user, and we have username, password. Because it is a Salesforce, I am creating like this. Because the other system also I am taking like a Salesforce, I am doing it. If any other system, then I may go to database and simply create username, password. Okay. Right, Amma? This is clear? No. What is it? Consumer queue. This is the data what I have given. So server side is done, this information. Now on the client side, what you are supposed to do? You are supposed to write a web service code.
Satish, I have it.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Client.
They can enter into the Salesforce. And why are you giving only the 3 object access, not other object?
Awesome.
Like, is it
To tell you
mandatory to
that,
give this 3 object only?
not to tell you that this user can access only this I have given. If you want to give any other access, you can give it. As per my example, I want to take this. Now it's a profile. Whatever you want to give an access, you can give it. So I told I create a profile. Some permissions I will tell. So I have given those permissions. Now I cannot give every object, right?
Okay.
So I given only 3. So
Okay, it's not mandatory. So we have to create user, right?
if you generally, there will be the creation. Now if I cannot give my administrator permission to the integration user. Now you have to give some username password to the company. Now let us say this application is accessed through third party. I am giving this access to Amazon, giving this access to Flipkart, giving this access to somebody. Now how do you know who is making this? Now somebody is inserting the data. How will you know who is inserting the data? You want to recognize the person who created. That's why I'm giving a username password. If you don't create a username password, what is the process here? What is the process here? You are supposed to provide username password. How will you get username password?
Correct.
Salesforce, how will you get username password? Without getting user, you will give that. Chalo, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Will you give administrator username password to everyone?
No.
Right? That's the reason I told create passwords. What username
And
password?
I didn't get this client secret actually. So could you please explain again?
There is nothing in the client secret. They are generating a secret word and you have to save it. That's all. When you create a connected app, you're getting a client ID, client secret. They're giving 2 terms. Now you have to save it. We need to use where we require. When you create a connected app, they're giving a client ID, client secret. Did we discuss anything regarding the client ID, client secret as of now? Right? Did I create my client ID, client secret? Salesforce is giving client ID, client secret. Let us see where we can use it. Right? They're giving 2 tokens. Right, Emma?
Yes, Satish.
Step number 1, client will send the request to. This is where. This is what we are doing here. This is a client side. Step number 1, client will send. Ask me at the end of the question. Ask me at the end of the topic. We already deviated from the topic. Wait for a minute. Once I complete the topic, I'll give the time for asking. Right? Right. Please do not interrupt the class in between. Once the topic is complete, I'll give the time for asking a question. Right. Your queries will be clarified once I complete the topic. Your queries will be clarified once 70 to 80% of the questions will be clarified once I complete the topic. You're interrupting in between, which I'm going to cover next. Okay. So I'll give the time at the end to ask the question at the end. Client will send a request to authorization server. If you want to send a request to authorization server, endpoint. This is the endpoint what we are supposed to give. Then type of method. Method type. What type of method is this? Then what are the parameters we have to pass? Now you are supposed to make a request to that URL with a method called post. Now what are the parameters they are asking you to pass? Now it is not your URI, standard documentation. It's a standard documentation. Every system will have OAuth standard documentation. Standard documentation for Salesforce will be different. Standard documentation for LinkedIn will be different. Go through the standard documentation. Look at what they're expecting you to pass as a parameter. Now they're expecting you to pass grant type, parameter value. First parameter. Second parameter, they're asking you to pass client ID. When I say client ID, at the time of creating a connected app, you're getting some, consumer key or consumer secret or application ID you'll be getting. So here, in our case, client ID is nothing but whatever the consumer key that is created in the connected app. When I created a connected app, whatever the key we are getting, consumer key, that will be used as a client ID. So what is the second parameter they are expecting? Consumer. So client secret is nothing but whatever the consumer secret we received there, that we have to pass. Now we are not doing any logic here. Whatever the consumer key we got, that I have to pass like a client ID. Whatever the consumer secret they have given, that I am passing. Now whatever they generated, there are two unique keys what Salesforce generated. The keys I am passing here. I am not generating it. Salesforce generated, simply pass that value here as a client ID and a client secret. What is the next one? Username. With a Salesforce username what we created. This is the, so client will send a request to authorization server to this endpoint with the post method with the following data. Then what will happen? Then response, in the response we are going to get this, and in which I am going to have access token. So this is the access token. Once you get the access token, what I was supposed to do? Request the resource. Access token. How you make it? Request equal to request dot set authorization whatever the access token we received, that access token I have to pass it, then request the resource. So step number 1, generate the access token. Step number 2, pass that access token and request the resource what we need. Right? These two are the steps. This is happening where? On the client side. When I say client side application, log into this account, then do this step 1, step 2. Right, Amma? Is that procedure is clear? Is that procedure is clear? Okay. Now tell me what is your query? Someone from online? Online, someone is asking a question. Go ahead. What is your query? Online? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. For username and password, instead of creating the new one, suppose if we are integrating with Facebook, we can use the existing username and password, right?
See, if you are using a Facebook, you already have a username password you are creating. If you don't have a username password, what will you do?
We have
Now
to
I
create the
told,
new one.
if integration username password is already there, why to create? If already username password is already there for you, why to create? You will not create. Now I told, in case if you don't have, you create it. Already if there is a user already created for integration, already user created for integration, I will not create. As per our application, or as per our example, there is no user, so we are creating it. Am I right or wrong? If you already have a username password, you will not create one more time. Right? Fine. Any query? If you have username password, will you create? Right, boss?
So it will good practice to have a different users for different integrations.
Obviously, now I should know, I want to restrict every integration user. Simple funda, boss. I am a staff of this company. I will have different access. When somebody from outside is coming in, I have to restrict him or not? Now I am a staff of this company. Let's say I have a Blue Dart courier people and ICAC. Blue Dart courier people are allowed to, they are delivering my checkbooks. Mute your mic. Right. Blue Dart courier people are delivering my checkbooks and bills, monthly bills. They are delivering it. Now ICICI Bank want to give an access to Blue Dart people. Regarding what they want to access. Now I gave web service. I gave username password for these people and told you can use this username password, connect to my application, check the update the status of the deliveries of the checkbooks. Now will you give access for those Blue Dart courier people to access every information from the application? Will you give? Now you want to know what is my password, what is my account balance, what is my details, what is my PAN card number, other details. You allow them to access? Now what you will be giving them? You will be giving them access to see what are the checkbooks that need to be collected, and once the checkbooks are delivered, what is the status of the checkbooks. Only this is the access, action what I want to give. I don't want to give the action, permission on every object in the application. Am I right or wrong? When you're giving an access to third party, it's obvious that we are going to restrict their access. We don't give access for those people to access everything. Now Facebook is giving an open API. Now using an open API, can you write a request and get all the friend list of your everyone in the Facebook? Now in the Facebook there is an open API. Can I write a program and get all your friend list? If everybody can get all your friend list, let us say I'm writing a program in the Facebook. I want to get an email ID, phone number in the Facebook. Can everybody get it? If everyone can get it, what is the security of your application? Your data is not secure. Your personal data, I'm retrieving it. Am I right or wrong? Now simple, all the marketing people will not pay money to anyone. Simply when a web service program, go to Facebook, get all the BTech student data. Go to Facebook, get all Wipro employees data, phone number, email. It's so simple. Now will the Facebook give access to everyone? Now obviously what they will do, they will restrict. What is the purpose of creating a separate user? To restrict this user permission. Now for this user, what I want to grant, which I don't want to show, I want to restrict it. Somebody has asked me in the previous 5 or 10 minutes back, why did you give only account contact opportunity? As per my application, this third party people is only allowed to see account contact and opportunity. I don't want him to perform any other operation. That's why I have given this. Now, according to your application, what is the data you want to grant? What is the access you want to give? Go to the profile mention, create a username, password, and do it. Are you getting my point? Right? Are you clear?
Thanks, Satish.
Satish, is it possible to show the step 1 and step 2 of the client side?
Now, let us come back. Now, what was this? Now, I'm going to give username, password. Now, I'm giving here. So, look at the format, public, string, public, string. So we already completed creation of connected app. Now we are trying to client side implementation. In the client side implementation, what is the first step we had? Generate access token. If you want to generate access token, client secret. Now, I told you, it is not a good practice to hard code the values. It is not a good practice to hard code the value. So what I will be doing now, so first let me check. I will check when I'm writing this program. Oops, I guess I wrote in another account. No, same account. Okay. Now, good. Now, I am creating a custom object. Credentials. Then have a text area. Then I have callback URL. I am putting all the fields which I am going to use down the line. Right, boss? Okay. Go back. Now we had a client name. Now, who is this guy? Client or a server? Who is this guy? Client. Now, server has given some credentials, right? So, what I'm doing with the credentials? Here I'm giving username. Okay. Now we have a secret. Now go back to this application. Now we have consumer key. Take if any extra space, we get a problem there. Copy it properly. Then we had next one. Consumer secret. This who generated this? We have nothing to do with that secret and the client. Whatever they are generating, we are going to use them. Now we are not implementing some logic there to create. They are created by the Salesforce and we are just consuming it and using it. Callback URL. What is the URL I gave? Response page. Now restrict this permission. On this object, don't give permission to anyone. Restrict them. On this object, don't give permission. Restrict them because they hold the credentials. Now what I'm doing here now? Now I'm going with the public. So what I'm doing? Write a query to fetch. So key, client ID, client secret. Then I also was supposed to give username, password also. I didn't create them, but I was supposed to give username, password. I was supposed to get this. What should I do, boss? Go to this object. I was supposed to create a username, password because that is also given by the third party.
Satish, shouldn't it be the custom settings instead of custom object?
I can use the custom object or custom setting as per your requirement. Now, one of the option of storing your data is custom object. Other option is custom setting. Now I have preferred custom object. You can prefer custom setting. Now it is not that I have to prefer custom object only. Now what is your intention? You want to hold the data. You want to hold the data somewhere. Now you can go with a custom setting, custom metadata type, or a custom label, or a custom setting. Is what you prefer is your choice. Now these are all possibility of holding it. All these are the possible options. Out of these possible options, what you prefer is your choice. So I have taken this. Now I was supposed to create username, password. I'm using the same username, password what I have, but you are supposed to create separate user for it. Good with this? Okay. Now step number 1, fetch the data. So what did I do? I fetched everything. Now I am assigning this data to endpoint. What is the endpoint? So are we creating anything? We're just going through the documentation. Whatever the documentation is saying, we are doing it. So every web service will have the corresponding documentation which you are supposed to understand and make it. Then we had username, where username is password. Then we had client ID. Oops. I gave key, I guess, right? So what did I do? I have fetched the data from database. I fetched the data instead of hard coding. As I told you, it is not a good practice to hard code the data. So you store your credentials somewhere. There can be a custom setting, custom object, custom label, metadata, whatever it is, as per your convenience. Then I'm making a web service call. Request. Now, whatever the step number 1 I told, that I'm trying to get here. So let us understand the first step. Set endpoint. Already we got the endpoint on the top. Okay. What type of method is this? Set method. Who told this is a post method? As per the documentation, they told you have to send using a post method. The string body equal to, then I am going to give body. What are the parameters we had? Grant type. Just to avoid the typo errors, I am copy pasting it. Just to avoid the typo errors, I am copy pasting it. Right. Grant type equal to password. Then I'm giving here body equal to client ID equal to what we got? Client ID equal to client ID. Body equal to body plus. Client secret equal to then we had username. Now all the parameters which I want to pass, I have created this. Now what was this?
Satish, if you don't use
Line number 15. That's error is not because of that. Like now, client ID spelled body equal to body plus semicolon is missing on the top. Boss, after completing the Apex programming, Visual Force programming, learning all this, now you're saying Apex is a case sensitive. Is Apex is a case sensitive? Right. Then where is the question about capital S and small s? Now I have seen the typo errors because this credentials client ID, this is sending to third party. That is why I've seen about case sensitive. Are these case sensitive variables? No. Yeah, someone is asking a question. What is that? Online.
so we are using get set with the variables. I think we are not using them on the Visual Force page. So without it will work now.
Yeah, see. Now the point is you are supposed to take a credentials. From where you take your credentials, your choice. Somebody want to take it from a form, Visual Force page, they want to create and enter the form. Somebody want to take it from XYZ location. It's up to your choice. Now, depends upon the requirement, the source of entering the data will be changing. Now, somebody want to say, boss, I'll give a form where you enter your username, password. Once I enter the username, password, and click on login, then the request has to go. That is your choice. Okay. How you want to project on the UI is your choice. You want to take the data from the VF page. You want to take the data from an object. This all are what? Source of taking the required data. The source of taking the required data will change from person to person, context to context as per your requirement. Right. As same question, somebody is asked, why not custom setting? Yes, you can do the custom setting. Now I felt like custom object is a good option for me. I'm using it. Next example I may do from custom setting. Followed by example I may do from VF page. So whichever I feel like my requirement is, I'll build the form. I hope you're good with this, right? Okay.
Yeah, if I was saying they don't need to use get set now because we are taking the data from the custom object.
Okay. If I'm taking
But
a
we
data
have
from,
used,
if I take a data from the custom
we are,
object, what is the problem?
I'm saying there is no
You
use
know,
of using set and get method.
now, yeah. If I
No
want to,
use of
I have given this. Now, did I create any VF page now? Now, do you know that I am not going to create a VF page? Now, where will you display this result? You are running a web service, getting the data, but where you would display that result? I have to create a VF page. When I create the VF page, I will be displaying the data. In case if you don't want to display this data in the VF page, obviously we don't write set and get. Now, the purpose I have taken this, is I want to display this entire data in the VF. Otherwise, what is the solution? Why do you have two steps? Straight away I can say create dot client ID, create dot client secret. I can use the straight away, right? The purpose why I have stored this data in the variables is I want to display this data in the UI to tell you that this is the request I made, these are the parameters I passed to tell you that I am using that information. The purpose of taking this set and get is I want to display the data on VF page. Right. Yes.
Got it.
See, now I have taken username password. Is a fixed username password you have taken. Now, if you say that we have given different username password for different people, now I'll now take from the database. I'll take from the input page. See, people are asking the same question, different styles. Question is now you are supposed to enter the what question the other guy has asked and you ask is the same. Now I'm saying now in this example I don't have multiple users. I have a single user. I stored in the object and pulling it. Now if you feel that there are 1,000 users, then what I will do? I will not go with an object. If you go with an object, which in the object, if you have 1,000 record, which record I have to use? So obviously I will not go with an object in that case. In this case, I have only one user I am going with. If you have 1,000 users, why will I prefer object? Now if I prefer an object with 1,000 records, out of 1,000, which record I have to consider? So obviously that is not a good choice. Then what I will do? I will create a VF page. I will ask the user to enter the username password. Right. See, now I told you, based on your requirement, you have to design the format of taking the data. From where you take your username password, is it from Visual Force page or an object or a custom setting? It will depend upon your business requirement. Now, in this example, how many users we have in trial account? I have only 2 users. One is administrator, other one is the dummy user. That is the reason I have taken object and I saved it. To tell you that credentials should not be given hard copy. No boss, I don't want to do that. Create a VF page. Create a VF page. Ask him to enter username, password. Pass the data. At the end of the game, what are you doing? End of the game, what are you doing? The username, password, what you have given, I am passing here. This is our web service call. Now, how you get username, password is your headache. What process you use is your headache. For the web service, if you give me username, I will make a request. How you get that username, password depends upon your system, your requirement, you can decide. That is in Apex programming. It has nothing to do with the web service. It is Apex programming. How are you fetching the data about username, password? Am I clear? Everyone is clear with this? Clear, boss? Right. Now let us see. We are making it. Now request set method. Set. So set method, set body, set endpoint. That v dot. Then I'm getting here. Right. Because at the same point, previously somebody is asked, why are you taking that set and get? Suppose this web service I am calling from a trigger. Same web service, if I am calling from a trigger, will I write that set and get variables? No. If it is running from a trigger, there is no concept of VF page, then obviously what happened? Only this logic I am going to write in the future. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? If I am calling the same web service from a trigger, and from the trigger what we are doing, making a calls, getting some data, updating the record. There I am not displaying any data on the page. Then in that context, will I go for this setter and getter? No. So what is that? Depends upon your requirement, you have to write your code. So code is not same everywhere. Depends upon the requirement, you have to choose. What is my requirement? I am going to invoke this. From where from where I am going to invoke this? I am invoking this from a VF page. And I want to display the data what I am receiving in the VF page. There is a reason I am going for this format. People are good with this? Right, Amma? Okay. Now go back to the response. What is the response you are getting? Access token. Now when you are getting a response in the form of JSON token, what is the format we have to use? System dot GP dot next token not equal to null. So if it equal to access token, if the current token is access token, what I do? GP dot next token. Then now till here I have done. So first what I will do is I will see whether access token is coming properly or not. If access token is coming properly, then what I will do? I will try to make a request to third party data. First let us understand whether access token is coming properly or not. Right. So till here, anyone has any query from your end? Till here, anyone has any query? So what was the request I made? Consumer key. Right. This is all I have given. Then what we are doing here? Response will be coming in the form of JSON. deserialize it and get access token. This is what I have done. Now first I'll go with the VF page. Now I'm going to create some button here. I'm giving here apex. Oh. I'm giving apex output label. So I have endpoint, username, password, client ID, client secret. Then access token. First endpoint. There the get and set was given for this purpose. Then re-render 1. This is the page what I create. There is a reason why I wrote a SQL query in the constructor, so that when the page is loaded, we get the credentials to which I am making a request. Right. Then when I make a request, get token. So what I'm getting here? Access token we are getting. Right, boss? So what was that? This is the endpoint, this is the client ID, this is the client secret, username, password. Because if you get any errors, I want to check where I'm getting. There are two choices. Keep system.debug or put in the UI. Now instead of going for a system.debug, I prefer a VF page. So that I want to check which parameters I pass, where is the bug. Which parameter I pass, where is the bug. Now what we received here now? Access token. Till here everyone is good. Now go ahead with your queries regarding the step number 1. Anyone has any query regarding the step number 1? Go ahead. Now people will not ask. Only in the middle of the part only people will ask. Any queries? Any queries on the step number 1? So what was this? Client ID, client secret, username, password, and if you send this, we are going to get access token. Right? Am I clear with this? Everyone is good with this example? Clear? Okay. Now this is only, what is this? This is only getting the access token. Now we want to request the data. What is my request? Whatever the objects we have in this application. In this application, we're having some objects. Let us say these are the objects. I want to get all the objects which are in this application. So how will you get? What is your requirement? In 312 account, what all the objects are there? We want to fetch all those objects. Then we need to go through Salesforce documentation. Then we are supposed to go through Salesforce documentation. Because how will you access all the objects from the Salesforce? Now I'm going for now what is your requirement? Get all the objects. This is the URL. Salesforce.com/services/data/. If I give this, we're getting the list of all the objects. In which format the response is coming? Look at this. We're getting the response in the form of JSON. We're getting the response in the form of JSON. Right. Now out of this, I want to get the data. So if you look at this, it is coming as this is one structure. This is the structure of the object. What was the structure of the object? Do you remember schema programming? Is activatable, is creatable, is custom setting, is deletable, deprecated and hidden, feed enable, all these are what? All these are what? Properties. Now we are getting all the properties of the object. We are getting all the properties of the object. We are getting all the properties of the object. This is one object. Like this, the complete response is coming here. Complete response is coming. All the objects information we are getting. Okay. Now I want to deserialize it. You want to deserialize it? So let us see how you deserialize it. You want to take only object names, simple. But along with the object names, if you want to take any other information, then the problem starts. S objects, this is the structure. Okay. S objects. Okay. So what I was supposed to do, first let us create a wrapper class. You want to take only object names, no need of serializing. Where name get text equal to name. But if you want to get the properties also, then we are supposed to create structure. Then I'm creating here. Go back to this. So let us. People have followed the access token. Then we are getting a response. In that response, you want a particular field, we can get that field, no problem. But what you are trying to do? You are trying to get the complete data. If you are trying to get the complete data, there are two options. What is the first option? We can go with the map. What is that? Untyped. When you say untyped, what will happen? Key value. When you say untyped, what we are going to get? Key value. We are going to get a key value format. So here, Okay, so look at this. I'm creating a this is a format of your response. Some bug. What was that bug? Okay, so this is the structure I have received. Now I want to deserialize the data. So if you want to deserialize the data, first you have to get the data. So how will you get the data? Let us see. Public string public void request. Using the access token, you are supposed to request that string endpoint equal to what is the server instance here? AP4 only, right? Okay. AP4 dot salesforce.com / then what is the URL we received here? This is the URL. Then I'm making here HTTP equal to request dot set point request dot set method request dot set method the request dot set authorization Oauth access token. Then I'm making a request. Anyone finding difficult, let me know. I can explain it again. Previously, what I showed is JSON parser. That will change from pattern to pattern. Now, if you don't pass the access token, why I will give an access to you? Who are you? Anybody who is requesting the data, will I give it? Now, if you send a request to this URL, give me all the objects. Will I share the objects? If you send me a request and say, give me the data, will I share? No. If I have to share, it should be authorized. Okay, you should be authorized. When you will get that authorized? By passing your username, password, client ID, client secret, I am giving you that access token. If you get that access token, you can request me. That means when I will give that access token, when your credentials are right, that means I know who is accessing, whether I can give the data or not. Right? Response. Request. So we are giving string result. Response dot get body. Now here we need to understand a small system here. Understand the small example here. I have I want to deserialize it. How will you deserialize this? System dot JSON JP equal to JSON dot create parser. Then I'm giving JP dot, because I know what is the data I want. I know what is the data I want. I know what is the data I want, so I can give it here. JP dot get text equal to object. Then I'm saying ACC equal to, how will you convert it? Account JP dot read as. What was that method, boss? Read the value as. So we had here read value as apex type or read value as execute. What was that? Unrecognized symbol. There was that name comma object. There was a comma. It is a string, right? I was supposed to put it in single quote. Now this is the data we received. What is the data we received here? So what I'm doing here, converting the data in the form of object and reading it. Converting the data in the form of object and reading it. Now in the place of object, now what is the data we are going to convert? Object wrapper. There I told object, here I'm going to get what? Object wrapper. There I told object, here we're going to get S object wrapper. There I converted into account, here I was supposed to convert into S object wrapper. So what I will do in this case, go to this system.json. Now the complexity is not with the web service request. Complexity is with the parsing the data. Now web service request is simple. Whatever you have done, this is the web service request. The service is very simple. Now the problem what we are facing is deserializing the data. While if you don't. So what is the data we received here? Now I need to go with what is the data here? Encoding creatable URLs. S objects. S objects array of. Okay. So if JP dot Get text. Then we're giving GB dot. Yes. List of. This is all parsing history, boss. Web service is only till here. Web service is only till line number 55. This logic we just gone through all this process because we are getting a response in a very complex way. But we have found that the same set of template is repeating. But I found that same type of template is repeating. There is a reason I understood what is the template of the data we are getting. Then I analyzed what should be the parsing technique. Okay. Then once you have made it, I was supposed to go to this. What was the method here? Request data. Request data. Then go through this. The next one. Apex page block. Then I'm giving apex table value equal to objects. Column value equal to now. Do you want to display all the objects or only custom objects? It is your choice. Again, if you want to make a custom objects, write your own logic. In that, what is that? In that, one of the field is custom or not custom. Schema settings are there, right? So one of the value is what? Look at this. Is it custom object? So I go to list of record, take one by one record and see if it is custom, put them in a list. If it is not a custom, don't put them in a list. I can do that if you want. So I can give this name. So that's all what you want. They have given the data. Out of the data, what you want to use, how you want to display is your heading. Wrapper dot name. Objects name. Let us go back and see what you are getting. Custom a dot name. Wrapper, we had a variable called name. Do you have any variable called name here? Go back and display. Objects. We're getting a bug here. Unknown property is object. So tell me what is the bug here? Sets and gets we are not used. Setter and getter we are not used. As I'm only displaying these two fields, I'll give only set and get to this. If you want to display other fields, I'm not displaying other fields, so I'm not going with set and get. I'm only displaying these two fields, so I'm going with set and get. So this is the request. Now when you're making a request, we got new URL, right? This is not login.salesforce.com, new URL. What should I do? Go back. Go back to the data. Then I'll give columns equal to. Go back to this. This is the data. Button name you have to change. So let us see this. Get token. You got an access token. Get data. So look at this list of all the objects. Right. Now there's some custom objects. What is it? We're getting all the list of objects. Right. Now you want to make extra logic and say that, boss, I don't want all the objects. I want custom objects. Now it's a logic. It's not a web service. Now once you got the response, parsing the JSON, creating a wrapper class, writing your logic, it's your FX logic. Web service is what? Identifying the endpoint, setting the parameter, making a request, getting the response. That is only the web service. Once you got the web service, what you want to do with your data is your logic, which you have to write with your FX class. Right, Amma? Now I want to see list of SObject wrapper. Custom data. Now what I'm doing here, for if sw dot custom equal to true, add mileage dot add now I was supposed to go back here and display my list. So go back again. This is the data. Get the token, access token, get the data. Now what happened? List of all the customers. Right? This is what I have done in this integration. Now what did I do? I made an integration to the third party. Then okay, got the access token. Then I requested what all the tables are there in that object. I brought the table names and I'm trying to display it. Now in this entire process, more than the web service, what is the toughest phase you found? Analyzing the JSON format. Right. The moment I looked at the JSON, this is the response what I'm getting. Now looking at the response, how to, I understand the format of the response. DCLS is the toughest part for you. But generally when you go for a documentation, they'll give a documentation. This is the format of response what we are going to get. So easy for you to understand. Right? So go back to the request now. Look at this example and tell me tell me if there are any difficulties that you have encountered. I'll explain the code from beginning. So before I go for re-explaining the code, anyone has any queries? Go ahead now. Anyone has any query?
Satish?
Yeah.
Yeah, Satish, I have a doubt in REST API. From REST API, how do you convert it wrapper class? And from wrapper class, if I have, how can I convert as a XML to that?
First point. What is the service we are doing right now? Is a REST API only. With the URL, if you are working, it is what? REST API. Now, first understand the primary. If you are making use of HTTP protocol making, it is a REST API. But the point is, in the REST API, there will be two types: consumer and service product. Now, who is the consumer? We are the consumer. So that's why we are making a request with the URL and making it. When you are a provider, then you have to mention at the rate of REST resource. So providing will see how to create a REST resource. Right now, what we are doing, consuming the REST API services. Right. Second, you will not convert wrapper to JSON, JSON to wrapper. You will not convert JSON to wrapper, wrapper to JSON. JSON data has to be deserialized, or XML data has to be deserialized. That JSON will have number of element. Now in the JSON what I received here, it is not a wrapper class what I received. I didn't receive a wrapper class. What is the data I received? I got different elements here. This is JSON data in which multiple elements are there. Let's say we got here encoding UTF-8, max batch size 200, like this data. Third element is S object. In the S object is what they are taking? Array of elements. Now I found it's an array of element. This is a common data, common template which is running. That is the reason that template I converted into wrapper. Now if you want to deserialize into any particular type, what will you do? If you want to deserialize into any particular type, what will you do? If I want to deserialize in the form of an object, what I will do? If it is an account object, account ACC, that is the reason I gave one example first. Account JS dot the current token. Get the cursor to the current token. If the current token is an object, that is I gave ACC. Now this is what? Account object. So what should I do? Bring the cursor. Check whether it is equal to ACC. Yes. Then bring the cursor to the next position, starting of the floor bracket. Bring the cursor to the starting of the floor bracket. Then say JS dot read value as okay. Which type you are converting? Account dot class. This is how I am converting the element in the JSON as wrapper. I am not converting a JSON as a wrapper. Are you getting my point? The data which I want to capture from the JSON, one of the element I am converting into wrapper. Now what is the result we received here? S object colon up to 200 records we received. This is the format what I received. Now what is there in this format? There is some data in this format. Name, custom, is active, like this some data is there. Same data is repeating. It is an array of elements. So if I want to read this data, what should I do? List of. What is the format of the data? What is the format of this? This format I treat like a wrapper, because when you want to deserialize, either you have to read one by one element, or that element should be converted into wrapper class. So whatever the data that is there, that should be converted means you have to write the wrapper class. You have to write a wrapper class. System will not convert. You need to check each and every element and create a wrapper class. You need to check each and every element. You have to write a class. System will not convert into wrapper class. Are you getting my point? So there are tools which are available here. What is that? We have some tools here. There are some tools here, admin boosters. Here, if you give the element, which element you want to convert? Just copy from the JSON response. From the JSON response, copy the element. The element is like this. Let us assume we got the response. Now, this is the element which I want to convert into JSON. It is an array of element. This is the element which I want to convert. So give that element, copy that element, click on generate apex class. So what we are getting here? We are getting a class. Remove these two methods. What is the class? Name, phone, industry. Are you getting my point? This is what I have done. But basically what you are supposed to do? What you are supposed to do? Look at the response. What elements are there? Create your own wrapper class. System will not convert. You are supposed to convert the wrapper class. Not a wrapper class for entire JSON. In the JSON, which data you want to read? That data you are converting in the form of wrapper and I am reading it. Why? Because the same format, 200 elements are there. Why did I choose the wrapper? How many records I have given here? 200 records have come. Now I cannot see each and every element in the for loop. Take element 1, element 2, element 3. I cannot do it. That is the reason simply I converted in the form of list of S object wrapper. In the list, how many records are there? 2000. I can write a for loop and control it. I hope you are clear with this, right? I hope I am clear, right? So the same type of data repeated 200 times.
Thank you.
That is the reason the data which is repeating that I converted in the form of wrapper made as list of S object wrapper. Okay? Any other query? Any other query from anyone?
Satish, in the
Here we could not use.
page when we are displaying
1 minute, online 1 minute. So online people 1 minute. I have query in the class. In this format, callback URL is not required. But to create a connected app, we have to mention it. To create a connected app, callback URL is mandatory. But in the format of username password, we don't need callback URL. Okay. But next formats will be using callback URL. Yes, online, go ahead. Online, go ahead. What is your query?
Satish, in the Visual Force page where we are displaying the list, can you explain the rendered condition?
First, wear your headset and
Have used double
voice is not clear.
explanation.
Your voice is not clear. Wear your headset and speak.
Hello.
Your voice is not clear. Can you wear the headset and speak?
Hello. Is it clear now?
Bit better.
Yes. So in the Visual Force page,
In the Visual
where we are
Force
using my
page,
list, can you explain the rendered condition?
in the Visual Force,
Where
my
we
list.
use my list
Okay.
in the page block.
In the page block table, you are displaying my list.
Can you explain
Okay.
the rendered condition?
Standard condition means what?
Can you explain the rendered condition?
Okay.
Rendered.
Yes. Okay. Now, why I was using this rendered? Initially, when you load the page, are there any records? Only when you make a request, data will come. When there is no data, what is the use of displaying a empty page block table? Now, when I'm going to this, there is no data. When there is no data, why should I display the page block table? Why should I display the page block table? Right. That is the reason we have given rendered. Boss. Hello. Any problem?